FUBUKI versus PSYKOS. These two juggernauts of the One Punch Man fan art and cosplay space are set to face off very soon in the manga, and it was very much so alluded to in chapter 174, where we see FUBUKI mention that she is going somewhere with the entirety of the FUBUKI group where things might get very ugly. Well, for those of you that are manga readers, you might be thinking, what the hell, that doesn't make any sense. Like, how is this even going to happen, right? So in today's video, what we're going to try to do is see how One and Murata are going to link up the events of the webcomic to the events of the manga to make this future interaction make a lot more sense. And just before we get into all that, if you guys enjoy One Punch Man content, then you can ask the people in the comments here. This is the only place you really have to be, because I post One Punch Man content multiple times a week, from theory videos to discussions to chapter reviews, where I'm known as one of the first YouTubers to get a One Punch Man chapter review out as soon as it drops. So you definitely want to be subscribed with notifications on, so you can be one of the first people to know as soon as the next One Punch Man chapter is released. So as I alluded to at the top of the video, in chapter 174 of the manga, we see that FUBUKI is on her way to somewhere with the entirety of the FUBUKI group, where Eyelash's questions her where she needs to go, that she needs to bring all of these people with her, and FUBUKI vaguely responds by pretty much saying that she needs all the help she can get because things can get very ugly. Well, to go a little bit more in detail on what she's talking about here, I will be having to go into webcomic spoilers from here on out, so you definitely want to tread carefully for the rest of this video. But for webcomic readers, we know that FUBUKI is on her way to go pick up Saitama to actually go to this high security prison where PSYKOS is currently being locked up in. She kind of entices him to come with her because she points out that the person that is responsible for destroying his home and Z City is locked up in this prison. Well, before I go a little bit deeper into what happens once they get there, we kind of have to point out the elephant in the room here, and that is that things happen differently in the webcomic that lead to this point that are very much vacant in the manga, because we see that FUBUKI and PSYKOS actually face off one-on-one in the webcomic, whereas in the manga it's Tatsumaki who takes on PSYKOS and her gigantic hybrid form. I mean, PSYKOS kind of alludes to the idea that she knows who FUBUKI is, but they never have a direct interaction. The last time we see PSYKOS in the manga is when she's witnessing the battle between Saitama and Garo, and we really have no clue where she goes to after that point. So for us to kind of jump into the scenario where she's locked up into this high security prison, and for FUBUKI to know this and want to go visit her directly, a lot of things have to have happened in between for this to be the case. So seeing as how they never had this one-on-one interaction, it really begs the question how it is that One and Murata are going to write the manga continuity to fit the events of the webcomic and what's to come. Well, there's a couple ways they can do this. The first being the easiest but probably the least satisfying, where they pretty much just off-panel explain that FUBUKI had found PSYKOS in the aftermath of that entire fight and did kind of like a citizen's arrest thing and brought her to this high security prison. I personally wouldn't like for One and Murata to handle things like this, because it kind of makes it seem kind of like lazy writing, or kind of just trying to force certain aspects of the webcomic into the manga to just kind of have it be more faithful to the webcomic without really adapting certain things or writing new plot points to make it happen. And I honestly don't think that One and Murata are bad writers, especially One, so I think they'll handle things in a different way. Because a second option we can have here is that FUBUKI is actually going to be on her way with Saitama to face off against PSYKOS and then bring her to the high security prison. So maybe PSYKOS is at this hideout trying to lay low, but FUBUKI knows where she is based on, you know, some sort of Esper power being able to identify other Espers or something. And FUBUKI and PSYKOS kind of have their one-on-one confrontation and battle right then and there, with Saitama kind of just being a spectator or like a referee to everything, making sure that things don't go out of hand. One and Murata might completely throw out the whole high security prison thing altogether and just have them face off one-on-one, and eventually just have Tatsumaki show up at some point to kind of intervene in the battle, much like how she did in the high security prison scene in the webcomic, where she shows up to kind of finish off the FUBUKI group and to finish off PSYKOS, and that is where FUBUKI versus Tatsumaki kind of takes off. Well, a different way that things could happen here in the manga is that, like I said, PSYKOS and FUBUKI have their face face off. They have this pretty impressive battle between one another and kind of share their words between one another, where they kind of talk about their past and their relationship in the past, so we can get more insight into how it is that PSYKOS even knows Fubuki and Tatsumaki. And then as the battle gets really heated up, Tatsumaki intervenes and threatens to completely kill off PSYKOS, where Fubuki of course has an objection to this because for some reason she doesn't want to see PSYKOS die like Tatsumaki does, and this then causes Tatsumaki to face off with Fubuki. I mean, there is also the possibility that PSYKOS versus Fubuki kind of takes the place of Tatsumaki versus Fubuki, and we just jump straight into the amazing battle that is going to be Saitama versus Tatsumaki. So to kind of paint the picture to you guys of what I think is probably the best case scenario here, Fubuki shows to pick up Saitama. They go on to find PSYKOS' hideout, where she is still very much weakened from her battle with Tatsumaki, leaving her on a more level playing field with Fubuki so they can have more of a even battle. And as the battle really starts to heat up, this is when Tatsumaki shows up. She intervenes, and as she's kind of talking down on Fubuki and trying to put her in her place, this is when Saitama kind of intervenes himself, and then eventually leads to Saitama and Tatsumaki's full-on battle. That way we get the best of both worlds, where we get the webcomic continuity being followed in the manga, but we also get some different wrinkles and setup to how this whole thing happens, and have it be its own unique event that's exclusive to the manga and kind of might build upon the ideas that were being set forth in the webcomic. Hopefully we get some more understanding as to why Fubuki has this connection with PSYKOS and this want for her to live and survive despite all the terrible things she's done. Hopefully with Tatsumaki and PSYKOS' interaction, PSYKOS gives us some more insight into God and what his true intentions are, because seeing as how she pretty much became his avatar or received some of his power, and also being an Esper where, you know, Espers kind of have like a higher level of understanding of things, it is possible that we get some more exposition into God and his origins, kind of piggybacking on the information that we got in chapter 173, where we found out that God is actually coming to Earth more and more often for a specific reason, which of course we all know is more than likely Saitama. And hopefully also get some more background into their childhood and really know what happened to their parents, what kind of life have they been living since escaping from that research facility that we see Tatsumaki held up in her flashback with Blast. I mean, if One and Murata really want to bless us here, we can get even more Blast information from another Tatsumaki flashback. I mean, that might be a little bit of wishful thinking, but you know, anything can happen here. One thing we've learned from the Monster Association arc is that changes can be made and things can get a lot crazier than we honestly think. But what do you guys think is going to happen here? How do you think that One and Murata are going to handle this whole Fubuki and PSYKOS situation? Do you think they're just going to off-panel write all of these events happening that kind of lead to her being locked up? Or do you think they're going to change things up to make it fit the manga continuity and make it a much more engaging story? Let me know in the comments what you guys think. I'm very curious to know what your thoughts are. I also hope that this video made your day just a little bit better, and I'll see you guys in the next video.